Hallows Eve. Halloween, but in the proper context. And so tomorrow is the eve of All Saints that we call it All Saints in America. In English, it's called All Hallows, okay? And it's the same exact thing. And that's what we're going to be celebrating on Sunday. And the night before we celebrate any major feast day, we have a vigil mass. We have the eve, just as we have Christmas Eve and Easter Eve and regular Sunday vigil masses or eves, so too we have All Hallows Eve. The feast day was set up in contrast to a pagan Celtic English feast day. Okay. They celebrated Days of the Dead in England and in Ireland and in the Celtic-speaking countries. And when they celebrated them, the church always had a choice of doing one of two things. They could look at pagan celebrations and say, let's wipe that out, or let's take pagan celebrations and let's adapt that to our own use. Okay. Over the centuries, that's exactly what the Christian church did. Christmas is a perfect example. The Romans celebrated Saturnalia towards the end of December, and so the Christian church said, we have to counteract that. And so they set Christmas date, which is unknown. They knew it was sometime during the winter, but nobody knew the exact date of Christmas, and so set it up as December 25th. The same thing, about 1,200 years ago, the church decided that All Saints' Day and All Souls' Day, those 2 days that fit together, would be celebrated at November 1st and November 2nd. So what we did was we took a pagan ritual and we Christianized it. The pagans had a tradition of dressing up and going to the cemeteries to visit their dead. And when they did that, they dressed as ghosts, as skeletons, as devils, as evil people, so that they would not be grabbed and taken by the dead who were close to them, if that makes any sense. People believe that those were the 2 days of the year where the living and the dead were closest to one another. And so it was a time to go and to commune and spend time with our people who had died. Excuse me. And in order to do that well, they dressed as dead people, hoping that nobody would try to keep them and they'd be able to come home and take off their costumes and be able to live their lives. As the church developed that, it started to move people to dress up as saints rather than to dress up as skeletons. But even though there was the movement towards dressing up as saints, people still continued to dress up in a variety of different ways. The whole idea, which is the very good idea, was to spend time with our departed. We here in the United States tend to use Memorial Day as the day to visit cemeteries. But in most of Europe, this weekend will be the time where masses will be said in cemeteries, where people will go to the cemeteries, where they will bring flowers and decorate. In South America, they will set up altars in their own homes to remember the dead. They will go to the cemetery for a picnic, to sit down and to share with the person their favorite food. And of course, they pour their favorite drinks into the ground for the person to share. And they leave some food for the person to have. And it was a sense of we're together in this. The communion of the saints, which we profess every single Sunday as part of our creed, basically says that we are one. The dead The people in heaven, ourselves, are all one as a part of the kingdom. Okay. So that's how the tradition began. Things like trick or treat were added later on with the same basic spirit, that we're celebrating the dead, we're celebrating the fact that we are one with the saints and that we deserve a reward. And so the reward is candy rather than going to the graveside and having a picnic. And so, because candy was cheaper, simpler, and easier, it became that. And that's where our tradition is here in this country and a lot of other countries. It's very Catholic, it's very holy, it's not evil, it's not pagan, it's not sinful, but it needs to just be understood in that proper context, that we're doing something that helps us to develop our links with those who have died. Okay? Any questions on that? Does that make sense? Okay? Good. Well, let's move on to the second. Okay. Somebody asked, once wedding bands have been blessed, can they be sold after the couple passes away? Okay. Traditionally, we bless certain things. We bless statues. We bless crosses. We bless sacred items and images. And those items and images are sacramentals. Okay? And sacramentals normally are not sold. Okay? That even if somebody is going to offer us a blessed item to anybody else on eBay, especially not in a church store or whatever, they're not to be sold if they're blessed. Wedding rings, wedding dresses, all kinds of personal items that belong to us are not sacramentals per se. They're reminders of the sacrament, and so wedding rings can be sold. Wedding rings can be melted down and reshaped into something else. None of that's a particular problem. So if it's a sacramental, ideally it should be given away to other people, not sold. So we don't go around selling statues or blessed candles or blessed rosaries. We sell rosaries, then they're blessed. But once things are blessed, then we don't sell them. But we can sell non-sacramental items. And we can refurbish those or resell those in different ways. Okay? Make sense? Okay. Well, let's look at what's an angel? Does the Catholic Church recognize them? Can you mention their names? Okay. I can't mention all the angels' names, okay, because there are billions of them. There are different kinds of angels that the scriptures talk about. We actually pray about them. You know, in the preface at Mass, we'll talk about angels and archangels, thrones and dominions, powers and virtues, cherubim and seraphim, 8 basic names for different groups of angels. We also talk about guardian angels, and of course, Satan and other devils are fallen angels. Angels are not human. Angels are spiritual. They're spirits. They have free will, so they can accept God or reject God. Angels, devils. And they're sent from God as his presence to us. The 3 angels that we see in the scriptures, Raphael, Gabriel, and Michael, are archangels, very special messengers from God, who are sent to do specific things, to make God's message known to individual people or to do God's work, as Michael does in the book of Revelation. Okay. So Gabriel comes to Mary and asks her to be the mother of God. Raphael goes to Tobias. Raphael is the angel of healing in the Old Testament. Gabriel is the messenger primarily in the New Testament. And Michael is the warring angel that helps to defend us in battle against the devil. They are real. The Catholic Church and most Christian churches believe in them because they're in the Scriptures. Yeah. We also believe that each and every one of us has a guardian angel, and that's not a matter of absolute faith that we have to believe that, because it's not found in the Scriptures. It's not even found in church dogma, but it's found in the belief that God cares about us as individuals. And so if God can send an angel to Tobias, if God can send an angel to Gabriel, if God can send an angel to fight Lucifer, then God can send an angel to watch over each and every one of us. So our guardian angel is, for us, that image that God cares about us individually as a unique and special person. You can give your guardian angel a name if you would like. Yeah. And they're just generic angels. The other groups of angels have roles that they play in different places, basically in the Old Testament. Okay. Anything else on angels? Okay, yep. The scriptures say there were angels there, not named. They were just generic angels. They were guarding the tomb at first, and then afterwards, they were there to speak to the women and to the disciples that the Lord had risen. No, they did not have human bodies. They were angels. They had physical appearances. You know, whenever God, Mary, saints, angels appear to people, they have an appearance. It's not the same human appearance that they had here on earth, and angels don't have that kind of appearance. We don't know how to describe what an angel looks like, and so we put them in white with wings and, you know, give them that kind of look, that they can fly about and all those kind of things. When the angels came to sing the Gloria at Jesus' birth, the same exact thing. They were visible, they were real, they had voices, but they were not human beings. Okay. It's the same thing with God. Yeah. How many of you have an image of God the Father? Okay. Big, powerful guy, huge beard, all in white. Sounds like Morgan Freeman or who's the other, or John Huston, or the other famous gods who spoke in the movies. But those are human concepts of God. Yeah. Whenever God appeared to people, we have no idea what God was like walking through the garden with Adam and Eve. Yeah. He was not human, he was God. Yeah. Jesus is the only person of the Trinity that became human. You know, the Holy Spirit is not a dove, yeah, but at times he appears in the form of a dove, so that it's not just a wind, but it's some sense of this is God appearing to us. Okay? So angels don't have looks or appearances. They don't have bodies as we do, but they appear in a form that is visible so that people say, there weren't two guys hanging around glowing white, pale-faced, because they hadn't been out in the sun. No, these were two angelic figures. Yeah. And they don't describe much of them at all. They just say that here are these two messengers from God. Okay? Make sense? Okay. We have to be careful whenever we're talking about the supernatural that we don't add stuff to that. The other important thing is that when people die, they are still human beings. Dead human beings in heaven are not angels, they are human beings. Okay? Yeah, and that's part of the crazy tradition that, oh, this is now my angel in heaven, especially if it's a young child. Young children do not become angels. Young children in heaven are young children in heaven. Young children in heaven on the day of final resurrection will have young children's bodies, but glorified bodies. So will the rest of us. But at the beginning, it's just our spirit that's in heaven. Okay, wait a second.
How true is it that during our masses there are angels with us?
How true is it? There might well be angels with us. We have no idea. We don't see them. If we believe that we have a guardian angel, they're with us. If we believe that, we are celebrating with the angels and saints, they are with us, and we are with them. Physically here, no, because we don't see them. But the saints are also with us when we celebrate the Eucharist, because we celebrate with them. So when we honor the Blessed Virgin Mary, St. Joseph, her spouse, the blessed apostles, all the angels and saints, we recognize that all of that together is part of every single Eucharist. They're in heaven, we're here on earth, but we're together. Okay? Did you have something else, Diane?
Well, I was just going to say that when folks have a child die, they say, oh, you have a little angel up in heaven.
Yeah, and that's bad theology, but you're not going to tell a parent who's had a child who's died, no, don't say that. I'm not going to yell at somebody at a funeral. Yeah. So we have no little dead babies today here, so they're dead children. The prayers don't talk about our angels. The prayers talk about our dead child. Our brother, our sister, part of our church if they've been baptized, part of life if they haven't been. But, so, and people nowadays even talk about dead adults as they're now an angel in heaven. You never stop being a human being. When you go to heaven, you are a human in heaven. You are not something less than a human, which is an angel. Yes? If you have no faith, then angels don't exist. Okay. None of them exist if you don't have faith. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. But, right. Okay, guardian angels, like God, don't get sad, they don't get happy, they just remain angels. Yeah, yeah. Okay. One of the things is don't take it so far that you ruin it. Okay? Once you start making angels feel stuff, you missed it. Okay? Your guardian angel is there. He is a sign of God's love for you, God's care for you, saint or sinner. Yeah. If you sin, your angel doesn't leave you. Yeah. And it's not like the cartoons where you get a little devil on one side, a little angel on the other. No. You have God watching over you and loving you. When we hear in the scriptures that Jesus says, your Father knows how you feel. Your Father knows how many hairs are on your head. Your Father knows your cares and your sorrows. When Mary appears at La Salette and she says to the little child, I remember you and your father being at that farm in Coin, and that he spoke to you about food rotting. It's a symbol of God knowing what's happening. God caring about the little itty-bitty details of our lives. So how that all works, we don't know. That it works, we do know. So that's always the difference. We believe that God is with us always, caring for us, protecting us, leading us, gracing us to return, gracing us to do good, gracing us and helping us to do well. And we talk about angels as that method that God uses to be present to us. Okay. Once you try to go beyond that, you're in trouble. Right? Sure. Yeah, you pray to your guardian angel. You pray to your guardian angel at night to keep you safe. It's part of our night prayers. That's traditional. That's fine. But to be able to take it any further than that, to say, that the angel is on my right side, on my right shoulder, that he's this big or this big, that's where you kind of ruin it. When you try to be, it's a mystery. When you try to explain a mystery, then you have problems. Because if God the Father doesn't have white hair, he's still God the Father. If he doesn't have a beard, because that's a human being that's had beards, he's still God the Father. So, we just have to be careful about our imagery that helps us to understand things in a human context, and also then the reality that's somewhere else. It's like when God spoke to Moses from the burning bush. God wasn't hiding in the bush going, Moses! He wasn't being burnt to death as, he spoke to him somehow in that way, and Moses knew it was God. He didn't see who it was. Okay? And when Moses comes down from receiving the Ten Commandments, he doesn't give you a full description of what God looked like. That's why they say in the Old Testament, especially, that you cannot see the face of God and live. But our prayer is that our departed can see the light of God's face. And that's the goal of life, is to see God face to face and understand who God is, but not here on earth. That's later on. Okay? One of the difficulties we have as human beings, we don't like mysteries. We want everything solved. We're like Agatha Christie. We got to know who did it at the end. Or any of those other detective stories. Were they guilty? Were they innocent? What's the story? We want the facts. And sometimes we just can't go beyond the basic reality. because it's not a yes or no answer. It's a mystery to be lived. Okay. Let's see what else was sent in. Okay. Why do people believe we idolize the Virgin Mary? Why do we worship the Virgin Mary? Why do we make the Virgin Mary into part of the Blessed Trinity? We don't. But when we're not clear about who Mary is, we often misinterpret in our own faith life and in our descriptions to other people as to who Mary is. Okay. Mary is our mother. She's not God. Mary is the first saint, the first disciple. Mary is the mother of God, of Jesus Christ, who is down here on earth. Mary raised that child. And at the cross, as we have up here on our wall, Jesus entrusted Mary to the apostles' care so that she had someone who would protect her and watch over her, and also entrusted the apostle and all believers to Mary's care. And so that's why we believe that when Mary appears at La Salette or Lourdes or Guadalupe or Fatima or any of the other apparitions that she has done over the centuries, she appears as our mother, to be revered, to be respected, not to be adored, not to be idolized, not to be worshipped. She doesn't appear as God. She appears as a messenger. So do some of the other saints who make appearances. So do the other saints who we hold special in our lives. Does everybody have a favorite saint? Okay. Who's your favorite saint, Diane? St. Jude. Okay. And you're one of those hopeless cases. Okay. Yeah. But, okay. St. Jude. St. Anthony, when you lose something, I don't know, the whole origin of that. St. Blaise, who pulled a fishbone out of somebody's throat who was choking to death. And so we bless throats in February, reminding ourselves of St. Blaise. St. Dismas, the repentant thief on the cross next to Jesus. You can go through the whole list, and you find that here are holy people who lived good lives and who made it to heaven. The church, interestingly, has canonized thousands of saints. It has never said that any human being is in hell. It's officially said thousands of people are in heaven. It has never declared officially that any given person is in hell. Now, we want to throw a whole lot of people into hell. And we know the kind of person that deserves to be in hell. The evil, people of our times, of past times, who persecuted the church, who persecuted little children, who destroyed Jewish people, the Hitlers of this world, the pedophiles of this world, the evil people of this world. We want to throw them all into hell, but we don't know if any of them are there. Because that's not our business. That's between them and God. We don't know, That's one of the difficulties of the Catholic Church, that, somebody can be in prison on death row as a mass murderer, as a paid hitman, and before he dies, he goes to confession, confesses his sins, repents from what he did, promises he won't do it again because he's not going to have the chance to, that person can be in heaven, whether we like it or not, because that's not up for us to decide. That's up to God to decide. If somebody repents and is forgiven and receives forgiveness through the church, then they're forgiven. And we've always believed that. We always believed that baptism and later the sacrament of penance always forgave any sin that was repented and with the promise that they would not do it again. So, that's why we don't know if anybody is in hell, but we surely know that there are people in heaven. And we're going to be celebrating those people this upcoming weekend. We're going to celebrate all those canonized peoples, Saint Pope John Paul II, Mother Teresa, Saint Peter, Saint Paul, Saint Joseph, people from Saint David, the king. You go through the list of people who were true and loyal, and because of their deeds and popularity and knowledge and interaction, we know they're saints. But we also know, and we speak about it, of the saints of our own lives. Our sainted parents or grandparents, or that special person who in our lives we know is a saint. We know they're in heaven because they lived a good and holy life. And that's why when we celebrate All Saints and All Souls Day, we celebrate the fact that the dead go to heaven. And every person who is in heaven is a saint. Some in the list of saints, some in our own minds, and some people will surprise us when we get there as to, wow, what are they doing here? And for some of us it might be, I hope to make it there too someday. So we have to kind of recognize that difference. Anything else about Mary? So we respect Mary, and one of the things that we do it as Catholics. How many of you have ever asked for somebody to do a favor for you? Would you put in a good word for me? If I'm applying for a job, would you be one of my references? I'm applying for a job at your son's business. Can you put a word in for me and let him know? Okay. You're not hiring me. You're doing a Mary thing for me. Mary knows how to hit her son and say, "They're out of wine. You better do something." Mary doesn't make wine. Mary whines enough to make Jesus make wine. And that's Mary's role. But that's the role of any good friend, any caring relative, any loving mother or father. That they'll stick up for us, that they'll see our need, and they'll try to help us with that. Right? And that's fine. That doesn't diminish God. And at certain times, people saw God as so far away that they thought, well, I can maybe talk to his mother. So I'll pray to Mary. And again, for Catholics, praying is to people in heaven, whether it's God the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit, one of the saints, one of the angels, whomever, anybody in heaven we can pray to. Okay? That's our definition of prayer. Now, some Protestant groups will claim that you can't pray to those people, only can pray to God. You can only pray to the Father. You can only pray to the Holy Spirit. You can only pray to Jesus. You can't even pray to all three of them. But you can't pray to anybody else. Well, if that's what you want to define prayer as, then that's how you define prayer. And according to that definition, then we can only pray to God the Father. Our Catholic definition is different. And we just have to be able to help people to understand that some things are different. And it's all right. If we look around, and what color are the walls in church? Off-white? Okay. What color is this piece of paper? White. What color is this altar cloth? White. What color is that candle? Are they all the same? Are they all the same exact white? No. But they're white. We decide how we want to name things. I'm wearing a blue shirt. You have blue jeans on. You have a blue dress, I hope, unless I'm colorblind. Okay? They all the same color, but they're all blue. Okay? And so we can define what blue is. I can't say you're wearing blue, at least not by my definition. I think that's pinkish. So, but you can call it rose, you can call it light red, take your pick. Am I close at least? Yeah, okay. Okay, so, let's remember, Mary isn't sacred, Mary isn't God. Mary is the mother of God. Mary is a human being. And as a good human being who's in heaven, they all intercede for us. Every single one of them, when we call upon them. What does each week of Advent mean in the Catholic Church? God knows. Okay. There are 4 weeks in Advent. Okay. And we celebrate 4 weeks in preparation for Christmas. And the 4 weeks of preparation are just 4 weeks of preparation. There's nothing specific to, the same with Lent. There are 40 days of preparation in Lent. There's nothing special to the 22nd day of preparation for Lent. During Advent, we might have some special feast days and stuff, but there's no specific focus on one thing or another. Sometimes we can take some of the virtues of the season and apply them to help us to focus. But that's all they are, just themes. And so, when we light an Advent wreath, we have 3 purple candles and 1 rose candle. The rose candles for the 3rd week of Advent, the significance of that is simply that we're getting close. When we're in Lent, we have 6 Sundays of Lent. The 4th Sunday of Lent is a rose candle. And it's, again, to remind us that we're getting closer to the end and that we have to be serious about what we're doing. But there's no specific thing that says the 1st week of Advent is about joy. The 2nd week of Advent is about waiting. The 3rd week of Advent is about rejoicing. The 4th week of Advent is, you better watch out, he's coming to town. But it's just a way in which we celebrate 4 weeks of preparation. Okay? And 4 weeks is a month. And for Jewish people, a month of preparation was critical. Yeah. The ideal thing was 40 days, which Jesus did fasting in the desert, and that Israel did for 40 years. Anything else about Advent? Okay. We have those preparation seasons just to stop us and remind us that this is a sacred time. The season of Advent isn't about, we have 4 weeks of shopping, 4 weeks to decorate, 4 weeks to buy the food. We have to do all those things too, but we have 4 weeks to prepare ourselves for the coming of Christ this year, so that it's not just another event. We have 4 weeks to do some of those sacred things as well. Okay, we had no more questions, okay. We have nothing else from the parish office that I know of. Do you have questions now? Okay, Diane, you said you had a question?
Well, it's the same thing I say to you all the time. You know, singing is praying twice, and I just love thinking that I would pray some.
St. Augustine said singing is praying twice. And here's a good group singer. And we don't sing the Our Father at Mass for a couple of reasons, because primarily we want everybody to say it. We want everybody to participate in it. And sometimes when we sing, as you notice in our church, 10% of the people sing and the other 90% don't sing at all. Right, Claudia? Yeah. It's his job to get the other 90% to sing, but he keeps on failing us at that. That's just the way of life. And so that's really why I don't sing the Our Father. Yeah. Okay, we rang bells when it was time to look up and to see what was going on, because we didn't know what was going on. Okay. Bells came into church when the priest had his back to you. And so when the epiclesis came, when the priest puts out his hands over the gifts, right before the words of institution, bells were rung. When the priest finished saying, "This is my body," and held it up, people weren't looking, bells were rung. When he said, "This is my blood," and held it up over his head, bells were rung. We don't need bells. We need to watch what's happening. We need to actively participate. Yeah. We need to answer the prayers. Yeah. Yeah. When we had bells, we also had choirs that did all the singing. We had altar servers who did all the answering. We had people who had their back to us. We didn't know what they were saying or what they were doing. We spoke in Latin so that nobody understood except for the few people. And even the homily was done in whatever language of the people, and that was the only thing that was done in the language of the people. We forget that things have changed over the last 50 years, and some of those things that have changed so that we are more involved in the liturgy, and we're not simply in the pews reading our little missal or praying the rosary or doing whatever it was that we did to occupy ourselves while the priest was up there doing his thing, whatever he was doing. So as that changes, then I get rid of the bells in every church I've been at, because I don't want to continue to foster that viewpoint that you only have to look up when you hear a bell. And if that was the case, then I would have somebody ringing the bells constantly. Okay? Make sense? You don't have to agree with me, but does the point of view make sense? Okay, thank you. Okay, yes, sir. Okay. Can you be married? Can you be baptized during Lent? Even less so, does Advent stop you from doing those things? Advent absolutely does not stop you from doing any of those things. First, the rules of the church basically say that if you want to get married, or if you want to celebrate baptism, that you don't do it during Sundays of Lent, which is when you're supposed to celebrate baptisms. However, we celebrate everything that leads up to baptism. We celebrate the rite of sending. We celebrate the scrutinies. They're all part of the baptismal rite of adults. So we use Lent for that, and we celebrate the actual event of baptizing and confirming and receiving First Communion on the Easter Vigil or on Easter Sunday. Now, if a child is sick, if a family has a situation where the third week of March, everybody's on school vacation, there's no COVID, the whole family's coming into town, and there's a newborn baby, and this is where everybody's going to be here, we baptize. You know, human beings come first. Human situations come first. We don't normally do that in the middle of a Mass on Sunday because that's not what we're focusing in on at that time. The same with weddings. Yeah. The rule on weddings is that normally weddings do not happen during Lent. They can. If they do, then we downplay the flowers and the celebration aspects of it somewhat, and we go ahead. Yeah. Now, one of the problems is that you can't get married Holy Week. That's out. You can't get married Easter week unless you want to celebrate Easter with exchange of vows at the Easter celebration. We celebrate Easter for 8 days. Nothing else can cancel that. If there's a funeral, we use the readings of the day, the readings of Easter, which are appropriate for a funeral, and we throw in the funeral prayers. If we were doing a wedding during Easter, we would use the readings of the day, we would talk about Easter, we would celebrate Easter and throw in the wedding vows. But if you want the right time to do it, then find an appropriate time. But again, sometimes just aren't the appropriate time. Yeah. And there are all kinds of reasons why all of a sudden, yeah, the fourth week of Lent is the appropriate time to have the wedding. And that's because of all kinds of human circumstances, you know, that you're looking for people to be able to come, you're looking for being able to celebrate and all those kind of things. So, you know, we have to be flexible with all that. It's not just, you know, what we'd like to see or what the hard rules are. Because we got rid of the hard rules, now they're the soft rules. And the soft rules say, you really shouldn't, but if you do, then calm it down. Yeah. If a place is decorated for Lent, you don't undo the decorations and make believe that we're not celebrating Lent. So it's like you get what you get, okay? So we celebrate both at the same time, okay? Make sense? Claudia? Okay. Real loud.
We heard in the media last week
Yeah.
that the Pope, they said that the Pope agreed with homosexual civil unions or something like that.
He agreed.
The question is,
Yeah.
are we bound by what the Pope says? If yes, if no, when? How does that work?
Okay, are we bound by what the Pope says? Yes. Absolutely no. we have to give serious consideration to what the Pope says, and most especially give serious consideration to what the Pope really is saying and not what the media is saying about what the Pope is saying. Okay. What the Pope said was, as far as I could see, and I don't have the actual words in front of me, I wasn't at the interview, he's basically saying that homosexuals deserve basic human rights. He's not saying anything about what they're doing. He's saying that they deserve basic human rights. Married couples who were divorced and got married again civilly deserve basic human rights. We don't recognize their marriage. It's not a sacrament. Technically, it's sinful, but they deserve basic human rights. People whose marriages are falling apart and you want to get a divorce, that's against church teaching, but you can get one because it respects basic human rights. You can sue over which parent takes the children for the sake of the children. Even though they're both parents, even though they both should have rights to the children, a determination can be made by the couple, if not by the couple, by the courts, that for the sake of the child, this is what's best. That's what the Pope is saying. The Pope is saying is you cannot discriminate against gays or lesbians or anybody else in the LGBTQ XYZ community. What he's saying is that they have rights, and the church cannot be seen as limiting their rights, even though some of their actions are sinful. In this country, don't we believe that someone is innocent until proven guilty? We can watch somebody shoot somebody on TV, but they haven't been convicted yet. They're innocent until they are convicted, until they are found guilty. Right? Yes? Okay. That's what the Pope is saying, is that you cannot strip people of their rights because you don't approve of their behavior. The church doesn't approve of certain behaviors. But we have to be consistent. And so we have to treat people who commit adultery in the same way that we can treat two people who are of the same sex as two people who are divorced and remarried 15 times. We can't say, it's all right, to have 3 different wives and 17 girlfriends on the side, and we still elect you president, and that's all right. Okay? Or that you're a king and you can have, or Solomon, who had 200 wives and 1,000 concubines. It was all right for then, it's not all right now. But it doesn't make him not a king. It doesn't make Donald Trump not the president. It doesn't make that person who's on her 4th or 5th husband not married and not have civil rights because of that. So we have to differentiate between, here are moral activities that shouldn't be happening, but here are civil rights. And that's why he talks about civil unions. And he talks about not judging. And the Catechism of the Catholic Church talks about not judging and not discriminating against people. And the problem is, when we want to discriminate against one group, we will find 20 good reasons to not discriminate against another. Usually because they're in our family. So if people have, excuse me, someone in their family who is living outside of the church's marriage, or not coming to church, or whatever it is, we need to be respectful of them and not judge them. And so it's not our business to judge, and especially it's not society's to say that you don't have the same rights that somebody else has who also breaks church law or God's law. Make sense? Okay. He took it further, but, the media doesn't read the Catholic Catechism that also says that we cannot discriminate against gay people. Yeah. That's in the Catholic Catechism. And so when you're talking about not what the church is doing, the church is not doing civil unions. Government does civil unions. And it's just basically saying you cannot, as a good government, discriminate against people because you don't like their behavior, or the color of their hair, or the color of their skin, or the language they speak, or the religion they have. Because once we start doing that, then we're in serious trouble. Then we are unjust. Okay, you had a question. Okay, they're online. They are online. They are online. If you go to our website, or if you go to My Parish, you can pull up the bulletin and you can read them. Okay. I don't. Okay. Let me go to the next step. Is unfortunately we cannot hand out pieces of paper because of COVID. So when we don't have to wear masks and we don't have to stay 6 feet apart, then we can hand out bulletins. Yep. Okay. Our bishop does not allow them. The CDC highly recommends that we do not use handouts for anything. You don't have books in church. You don't have prayer cards in church. We project everything onto the bulletin boards. We give you all the things that we can do. We cannot give you something that other people will touch. Okay, and that's the nature of bulletins. So, what happens is people pick up a bulletin, they read it, they leave it in church, and somebody else picks it up, and all you're doing is passing disease around. So, until the end of the COVID situation, our diocese has interpreted strictly that you cannot. And the only way you can get bulletin information is from the websites and those kind of things. I'm sorry if we might be able to help you if you have a smartphone or one of those kind of things or even to read messages or those kind of things. But we can't hand out papers. Okay. Yes. Yep.
I know that one of the big things is I'm against very messages about abortion. A lot of abortion, a lot of, innocent Christians that, that they don't give them a chance to come into this world, where they're going to eat.
Hmm?
And now there is, rather than think sometimes, rather than being killed on an abortion, a homosexual are adopted. That's bad too, because they're giving a bad example. Two daddies and two moms, and I don't know what the church stand on that.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. The problem with that is a lot of kids end up in situations where there are bad mummies and daddies. Yeah. And, you just have to be careful. The church doesn't normally allow same-sex people to adopt children. We don't allow it from our adoption agencies. If people adopt them, they adopt them. If, some couple adopts children and they abuse them, you deal with that. But, no situation is perfect. And so, you just have to be careful as to how you screen people and how you deal with circumstances and stuff. And, that's just there. Abortion is different, And again, it's not same-sex marriage. It's civil unions that the Pope is talking about. Okay, it's not marriage. Marriage is a term the church tries to reserve for something sacred between a man and a woman. Same-sex marriage is not the same as a regular marriage. However, neither are shotgun marriages, they're not acceptable, or young people marriages, or marriages because of pregnancy, or marriages because of inappropriate activities. There are all kinds of prohibitions on who can get married in the church. It's not just gays. It's a variety of different people. And abortion is, that we absolutely, totally, completely believe that abortion is evil and that people should not get abortions. It is permissible in almost every single nation in the world. Doesn't make it right. And, when we're voting, we have to vote to find ways in which we can lead people from needing and wanting and having abortions. And not just try to find some step in the way. And when we choose candidates based upon who they are, what they stand for, what they present as a whole platform. And we look and we see that somebody who's against one thing, no matter how evil it is, might be for 10 other things that we also include as evil. So you can't just simply justify that this is the worst evil in the world, so this determines my vote. That's not me, that's the Pope, that's our Catholic bishops in their statement on faithful citizenship, where it tells you very clearly, here are the issues that are important to the Catholic Church. And if you looked at all the issues that are central and important to the Catholic Church, that are central to the gospel, you wouldn't be voting for anybody. Or there are about 4 people in Congress who you could vote for. The church teaches, for example, that we respect life from conception to natural death. The vast majority of people who are against abortion are for the death penalty, are for taking away rights from pregnant women, for non-supporting children in poverty, for not caring about situations, for building nuclear weapons in which we look to destroy other people's lives. Put it all together, and it's not as clear as this is the one thing. We will stop abortions and we'll destroy the world. We'll stop abortions and we'll starve thousands of people. 25,000 people every day are starved. And nobody cares about them. And we can do something about that. So, and there are a lot of other things that we can do, and that's where, it's tough. It's tough to find the right candidates and things. So, that's why I keep on saying it. I'm not going to tell you how to vote. I didn't even tell you how I vote. That's my personal viewpoint. But okay. And to everybody at home, if you want to ask questions for the next time sometime in November, you'll see the dates published. If you want to come here to church to have your questions answered, you're most welcome to come in and join us. Thank you.